Hello, I hope you are doing well. You know how sometimes financial advisors advise people to invest in themselves? And as an international teacher, I think the best investment you can do in yourself is to get a teaching license from a Western country, specifically a US teaching license. And especially if you're a non-native speaker like myself, I think the best investment you can do is to get a US teacher license. And I think I did my best investment with Moreland University. If this is the first time you are watching me, my name is David Wilson. Scientifically, you can call me tetranicotinamide adenylonucleotide triazothiamine Achabu 83 acid. I'm from Ghana, if it's not obvious already, and I've been teaching for the past 13 years in Ghana, Vietnam, and currently in Indonesia. And in this video, I'm going to talk about I'm going to give you a little background about my teaching journey, why a US teacher license, why Moreland University, and how Moreland University has transformed my teaching journey. Let's get this started. I started teaching in Ghana in January 2012, and back then I had a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science. I had no education credential. And in I think somewhere 2013, 2014, I read something Komla Dumo said. Komla Dumo is one of our experts. May his soul rest in peace. He was a BBC journalist, and he made the statement that whatever you do, you think global standards and you operate at 100% capacity whenever you are given the opportunity. So that thing struck me. I was like, if I really wanted to teach, I should be having skills that will enable me to teach in any classroom around the world. So I started researching and looking for international teaching job back then in 2013, 2014. I was looking for international teaching jobs, and whenever I read the job descriptions, I read you need at least a B.Ed. I had a BSc then. So I enrolled in a Master of Education in Science program in one of the universities in Ghana. I enrolled in 2015 and completed in 2017. So I was still looking for an international teaching job back then, and eventually I landed my first international teaching job in Vietnam. And the job I had, that was in 2019, it was a bilingual school. It wasn't a real international school. I was still looking for a real international teaching job, but this has some challenges, especially if you're a non-native English speaker from Ghana like myself. Normally, when I read these job descriptions from this real or top-tier international schools, most of them were looking for native English speakers, and a few of them were looking for teachers with licenses or teaching credentials from these Western countries. So, but I kept applying. I was still not getting a real international school job until 3 years ago when I interviewed for a biology teaching position with a school in South Korea. And the interviews went really well. The principal back then was really interested. He was ready to give me an offer, but there was a problem. I had no teaching license back then, because when I completed my Master of Education in Science in Ghana, they were not issuing teaching licenses in Ghana yet. So I had no teaching license from Ghana before I left in 2019. So this principal, he was kind enough to write to the immigration of South Korea and ask, looking at my credentials and experience, would they be able to give me a work permit and work visa to come and work in South Korea? And the immigration replied and said, unfortunately, without a teaching license or a teaching credential, it is impossible for me to get a work permit and work visa to teach in South Korea. And the principal went out of his way to advise me to look into getting a teacher license from the US, Canada, or UK. And I was then researching about getting a similar teaching credential. And I was looking at Moreland University, and I mentioned it to him, and he was like, yes, I should really go for it, because he has some of his teachers getting their US teacher license through the Moreland University teacher training program. So I should look into that. So that was my turning point, and I started looking I applied for the Moreland University teacher training program. Actually didn't start the program directly. I started with their Master of Education in Educational Technology program, and I'll tell you more about that. But these are a few challenges I faced looking for real international school jobs prior to me getting my US teacher license. The first point I'd like to mention here is that the US teacher license has global recognition. Many of these international schools out there, they run curricula that originate from the US. I've read many international schools, their websites, and they run programs like the US AP curriculum, the US Common Core curriculum. Many of these international schools run curricula that originate from the US. So if you hold a US teacher license, you are likely to be given the opportunity to work in such schools. The second point I would like to mention is that the US teacher license levels the playing field for non-native African Black teachers. If you are not from any of these Western countries, you are considered a non-native English speaker. However, if you hold a US teacher license, it levels the playing field and it increases your chances of being invited to these interviews. Like I mentioned earlier, many of these job descriptions no longer mention that you should come from a specific country in order to be able to apply. However, they make mention that you should hold a teaching credential from some specified countries like the US, the UK, Canada, Australia. And that was the same case I had. That was a similar case I had in my current school job. They made mention that if you don't hold a teaching credential from certain countries, with the US being part of, you will not be invited to the interview. So it actually levels the playing field for anyone who holds a US teacher credential. The third point I like to mention here is that with a credential in one subject area, you have the opportunity to get endorsements in other subject areas. Currently, I hold a general science teacher license with the District of Columbia, the Washington DC area in the US. And with my general science teaching credential, I can get endorsements in related subject areas such as mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, if I write and pass praxis exams in these subject areas. So once you get endorsements in more than one subject area, it increases your chances of you getting many jobs in these top tier international schools. The last point I like to mention is that the US teacher license is highly valued globally. Unlike some other teaching credentials, which once you have it, you don't need to write and update your license from time to time. With the US teacher license, specifically with the one I'm holding from the District of Columbia, you would have to write exams or complete some professional development in order to keep your teaching credential active. And I think with this in place, it makes the US teacher license very valuable and it is respected among so many institutions because you will need to be updated. You need to be stay updated in order to remain relevant in the classroom. I made a video talking about why anyone, especially non-native English speakers from Africa, if you're a Black teacher, if you're not from any of these Western countries, the reason why you should hold a US teacher license. Check the video description below. Watch the video and let me know your thoughts about why it is important to obtain a US teaching credential. If you do not know, Moreland University is a graduate university based in the US that runs online programs in teacher preparation, Master of Education programs in many subject areas. And these are the reasons I think anyone should consider enrolling in any of their teaching programs, especially their Teach Now Teacher Preparation Certificate program. 1. The program is online. When I did the Moreland University Teacher Preparation program, I was in Vietnam. I did everything while I was back in Vietnam and I applied online. I didn't need to meet any residency requirements. I didn't have to apply for any visas. I didn't have to be physical in the US. That means that I could work, and I was working whilst I was doing the program online. So it is very flexible, self-paced online program. And I didn't just do the teacher preparation program. I first did the Master of Education in Educational Technology program and paused for a while, and then continued later with the teacher preparation program. So I think it is very flexible. 2, the costs, I think, makes a lot of sense, because if you look at the average cost of teacher training programs in the US, it ranges between $10,000 to $30,000. But with Moreland University, their teacher preparation program, at the time of recording this video, the total cost is $6,950, and you don't just get a lower cost of getting trained to be a teacher to teach in US public schools, but you get to pay this amount in installments. The first payment is around $950 at the time of recording this video, and the rest are spread over 8 months. The program runs for 9 months, and it is spread over the period, and it makes you paying for this very valuable credential, flexibly. So it makes your work and your life quite easy. The next point, I would like anyone to consider training with Moreland University to get a US teacher credential, is something I think not so many people talk about. That is, I think the people running Moreland University are humans. They are very empathetic, and they really listen to your concerns. If you listened carefully earlier, I told you that I started my Moreland journey with their Master of Education in Educational Technology program. And with that program, you continue with the teacher training program. Immediately finish the master's portion. But when I completed the master's portion in February 2023, my wife then was carrying our baby. So I had to prepare physically and financially, to welcome the baby. So I sent an email to my advisor at Moreland University. We set up a Zoom call, and I explained my situation to him, and he congratulated me and asked me when I think I'll be available to complete the program. I gave him the time I think I'll be available to complete, and they just allowed me this period to prepare and welcome my baby. And after the baby came, when it got to the time, I was able to continue the teacher preparation program, and it was successful. That is not just one case. During my teacher training program, I started with some people who had to pause for several reasons, and the same treatment was meted on them. So I think the people running Moreland University, they are humans. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And I think whatever situation you find yourself, when you talk to someone at Moreland University, they will definitely find a way, or drafting a structure that will benefit you and them. Please consider them, and then just send an email. You will never know what will come up. The last point I'd like to mention is you don't just get a US teacher license, but you get practical ideas as to how you teach in your classrooms effectively, how you manage your classrooms using technology that can save you a lot of time. You get to do the program with people with various levels of teaching experience. You get to learn from them. You bounce off ideas from your cohort members. You get a lot of information from your instructors, and you get to connect with people for life. It has the opportunity of changing your teaching career, not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom. Apart from the fact that it's improved my teaching significantly with so many, edtech tools, so many ideas as to how I teach effectively in my classroom, how I manage my classroom, how I assess my students. It's also giving me the opportunity to get my dream job within the shortest possible time I could ever think of. I completed the Moreland University teacher training program last year around March 2024, and I wrote exams, practice exams, and did other stuff to apply for a US teacher credential. And eventually, on the 29th May 2024, I received my US teaching credential from the District of Columbia. Exactly 3 months after I got my US teacher license, that is on the 29th of August 2024, I landed this dream job of mine. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't know of any of the investments that I have made in myself that is showing potential of me gaining returns or getting returns from my investment as fast as getting my US teacher credential. I don't want to talk much, but you should understand that once you possess a US teacher license, it can open so many doors for you, and there is no better way to get a US teacher license than to get training through Moreland University for all of the reasons and many other reasons that there is. If you are interested in enrolling in any of Moreland University's program, especially the Teach Now Teacher Preparation program, kindly use my affiliate link below in order to support me grow on this channel. And one other way you can support me on this channel is to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and click the notification bell so that whenever I upload, you'll be notified. I'd like to know your thoughts on this video in the comment section, and in my next video, I'm going to talk to you guys about the step-by-step guide on how you apply through Moreland University, run you through the programs or the modules in the Teach Now Teacher Preparation program, and take you through the application process for a US teacher license through the District of Columbia. If need be, I will make this video in 2 parts. So stick around, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and until my next video, you take care. Bye-bye.